Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. Boog Nice coming at you finally with my top 10 Marvel Legends of 2020. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini made the I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
Once again, Hasbro Marvel Legends, the best toy line in 2020 in my personal opinion. Hasbro in general just killed this year, but I'll talk about that more in my top 10 overall figures for 2020. The Hasbro Marvel Legends line this year put out 8 or 9 Build-A-Figure waves, a bunch of different store exclusives, 2-packs, 4-packs, San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, Hasbro Pulse exclusives, filled a lot of holes in our collections, put out figures of a bunch of characters for the first time. They killed, man. They did a really good job. I think the figures that really stood out are pretty obvious, and I think most people's top 10 lists are going to be very similar. But without any further ado, let's get into my list. Coming in at number 10 is going to be the Walmart exclusive comic-based Black Widow figure. We were long overdue for a redo on this figure. The last one we got was I think during the Return of Marvel Legends days. They did a very good job on this figure. A nice set of accessories, great head sculpt. These accessories we saw quite a bit throughout 2020, but every time they were reused, it was in the proper capacity and with the right figures in my opinion. I love the addition of the jetpack and the additional hands. You know, I always say heads and hands make the figures. So the only other thing that I think they could have included was an additional head sculpt for her, but being that we got so many Black Widow figures over the years, we did have the ability to do some swaps and what have you. It's just unfortunate that their run of Black Widow figures couldn't drop alongside the movie. You know, all of that stuff got screwed up because of COVID, but this was definitely a figure that we needed and just a really solid offering for 20 bucks, everything that was packed in with her. So number 10, Black Widow. Coming in at number 9, and this should come as no surprise as this was one of my top 5 draft picks for Marvel Legends. That video I put out right before the end of the year. My number 9 slot is going to go to the Sugar Man Build-A-Figure. One of Marvel Legends' best Build-A-Figures of all time, and this was a little ugly mother, but so detailed, so accurate to the comic look. He was the perfect capstone for the first AOA wave. Hopefully we'll get another wave and round out some of the other looks of characters that we really like. Maybe at some point they'll come with an interchangeable face for Sugar Man, because I do believe that this Build-A-Figure, some parts were the base for their upcoming MODOK figure, which does have the swappable face. But even if you weren't into AOA, like me, initially into that storyline, this is just such a really nice piece from Marvel Legends, and to get this for free essentially as the bonus figure for collecting that entire wave is really a bonus. In no way, shape, or form should you pass up on this figure. It's one of Marvel Legends' best figures of all time in my opinion. Coming in at number 8, another Age of Apocalypse alumni, I'm gonna go with Dark Beast. I think this was a perfect reuse of the original 616 Hank McCoy Beast Buck, but I think they totally improved here. I mean, I like this figure probably more than regular Beast. Again, it's just from a storyline that I don't care about too much. But having the Deluxe Apocalypse and having the Sugar Man Build-A-Figure, you definitely need Dark Beast. You always need the villains from any particular influential story. And this guy just looked phenomenal. Great articulation, great paint applications, the shading and everything looked awesome. The head sculpt looked awesome. Only thing I would have preferred is maybe another interchangeable head, something more relaxed, more sinister looking, just sort of a neutral head sculpt. But this was definitely one to own in 2020. If you didn't pick it up in 2020, you need to backtrack and pick it up this year. Dark Beast is probably one of Marvel Legends' best figures of all time as well. My number 7 slot is going to go to the Joe Fixit Hulk Build-A-Figure wave Kang the Conqueror figure. Probably the best figure out of that wave. I was a little disappointed with Falcon, but this was another one that was long overdue for a redo, and Marvel Legends really did the damn thing on this figure. He was the proper size, great shading and texturing on the costume. They did something pretty unique with the articulation scheme in the upper torso. Great head sculpt, couple interchangeable hands. He came with a weapon. Very solid offering, especially considering that Kang is probably going to be one of the overarching villains in the next phase of the MCU. It was nice to see them give us a comic-based Kang. And you know, villains like this, for every like 4 or 5 heroes or team of heroes, you need the one big baddie for them to go up against. So this was definitely a crucial piece to pretty much everybody's collection if you are a Marvel fan, a fan of the Avengers, and if you wanted to do your thing in terms of display art, ACBA. Solid offering here from Marvel Legends. Number 7, Kang. My number 6 slot is going to go to one of the best villains of all time, the Super Skrull Build-A-Figure Wave Dr. Doom. This figure was everything I wanted in a new Marvel Legends Dr. Doom. They crushed any and all of the past offerings of Doom, the Toy Biz version, the previous Hasbro version, interchangeable hands, interchangeable heads, great little minor details like the rocket boosters on his back. The only other thing that they could have done was maybe ventured out and tried a soft goods cape, but with all of these independent contractors out there making soft goods and different accessories and stuff, it's very simple to swap out the stock cloak and put something more dynamic on them and really take the figure over the top. But this was a beautifully crafted figure, great paint applications. This was definitely the Doom that we all deserved. I'm eager to see where else they take this. We did get the retro or vintage carded version that I actually haven't opened yet, but I'm interested to see if they give us a God Doom on this buck and his all white outfit. But no question, this will make a lot of people's top 10, one of the best on the year, best Dr. Doom we've ever had in 6-inch form for sure. My number 5 slide is going to go to what I think is probably the best Build-A-Figure in 2020. But I'm going to go with the Venom Pool Build-A-Figure for my 5 slot. And yo, I'm done with Deadpool. I'm sick of Deadpool. I'm sick of all these different Deadpools, but every time I say that, Hasbro does find some unique, innovative, or cool way to give us another Deadpool, and this was no different. This was very well done, super detailed, nice texture, great head sculpt, interchangeable hands. You got the swords and the sheaths. Again, probably could have just used an additional head sculpt, something neutral, but this was a massive beast, and you only needed 5 figures to complete this Build-A-Figure, which was just crazy. I see Hasbro kind of moving away from needing 7 and 8 figures to complete a bath and getting it done in 5 or 6, which is commendable, and I really do like that, especially for a figure so massive. I said this when I looked at this figure in an overview, but even if you don't get the regular figures from this wave and you just buy this figure complete on the secondary, it's worth it. It really is one of their best pieces. If you only have this and one other regular comic style Deadpool, then I think you'd be okay. But don't pass up on the opportunity to own this figure. Number 5, Venom Pool. My number 4 slot is going to go to a figure who, at the top of 2019, I put on my list as one of my most wanted Marvel Legends for 2020, and that figure was absolutely crossed off my wish list in 2020. The Target exclusive Storm from the Storm and Thunderbird 2-pack. Finally got a swimsuit Storm. She helps us complete our X-Men arcade crew, gets us very close to completing our giant size X-Men crew. Pinless technology. They gave us the option of 2 cloaks, one that was more dynamic and one for a relaxed look. Same thing with the 2 head sculpts, interchangeable hands. She was absolutely the gem out of the 2-pack. I guess most of the budget went to her because Thunderbird was surely lackluster. Probably my only gripe with this figure was that the bust line was kind of small. I did see a custom, I don't know if I'll be able to find that picture, but I saw a custom where somebody kind of swapped out the bust line from the vintage carded Black Cat figure and made Storm look a little more voluptuous, but you know, it's not an easy swap. I think you had to do some painting and what have you, so it's not something I would do personally, but I really do wish Marvel Legends would stick with the more voluptuous look for the women. Not trying to be a misogynist or anything, but listen, the guys have great physiques, so should the women. The women shouldn't look like teenagers unless of course they are teenagers, but this Storm was everything I wanted for this look, for this character. We have damn near every look for Storm. I think they've been doing justice to Storm for the most part. Just a couple different outfits I'd like to see moving forward into 2021 and beyond. This was definitely one of the best on the year, one of my favorite Marvel Legends, one of my favorite looks for this character. This was really well done. All right, we in the home stretch. My top 3 figures on the year are all figures that I think are going to get a lot of burn in 2021 in terms of displaying. Number 3 is another one that was on my draft picks list, and that's going to be the Ultimate Riders Punisher. Had such a good time reviewing this figure. I think I reviewed every figure in my top 10 except maybe Dr. Doom. I don't know. I have to go back and look. But what a fresh take on Punisher. based on the art of Ariel Olivetti. They repurposed some of the effects and accessories from the Black Widow in my number 10 slot, but they did it really well. Gave us some really cool, realistic looking weapons for Punisher. The bike, obviously. I love the head sculpt. Would have liked to get another head sculpt, but it was such a great mixture of accessories. Not only did we get the ballistic guns, but Punisher had the guns as well. I love the sculpting on his arms with the sleeveless shirt, the fingerless gloves. Just a real slick looking figure. A lot of playability, a lot of swappability. Obviously, you could utilize parts and accessories from previous Punishers. This might be their best Ultimate Riders figure, maybe except for Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider, which I don't have and won't make any of my list because I never purchased that figure. But this Punisher was really, really nice. You should definitely have this in your collection. This is one to own. My number 2 slot may be a surprise to most of you because it's going to be the vintage carded or retro collection Spider-Man figure. I'm sure many of you, knowing me and knowing that Spider-Man is my guy, thought that this would probably make my number 1 slot, but it didn't, because over the past few months or so, I have come to realize that there are some flaws with this figure that wouldn't allow me to put him in my number 1 slot this year. Usually any year that a new Spider-Man figure drops, he comes in at my number 1 slot. But in order for this figure to be perfect, they needed another set of accessories. Should have come with a new Peter Parker head sculpt. He should have definitely come with the open hand sculpts, and all of the pegs probably should have been painted properly, and you shouldn't see different colored pegs on the forearms and anywhere else where he's articulated. That was something that Dwight mentioned that they did want to update, so we probably will see this figure repurposed, repackaged, and better. But one of my last gripes is the gappage on the back of the neck head area. I don't know why they used that sort of ball peg mechanism for this figure. It would have worked better with their traditional classic ball peg, although he does get a nice range of motion looking up. I wish they could have found some way to incorporate that without there being that gappage in the back. But this still is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man appears in everything. He's one of the most iconic characters, so again, he's going to get a lot of burn in 2021 from me. And I still stand by the fact that I believe this figure is better than the MAFEX figure, or at least it will surpass the MAFEX Spider-Man once he's repackaged and repurposed with all of the updates that I mentioned. But you have to have this figure in your collection. You need 1 to 3 of these in your collection, and that's why he's at my number 2 slot, the retro carded Spider-Man. And my number 1 slot, the top Marvel Legend in 2020, my favorite figure that I own, that I purchased, that I reviewed, is going to go to the Deluxe War Machine. Again, with these accessories, they repurposed some of the accessories originally packed in with Black Widow, but gave us more. They also worked off the 80th anniversary Iron Man buck, gave us a really good unmasked head sculpt that looked phenomenal. He looked amazing side by side with Iron Man. He looks good with all of the other Avengers. I'm interested in completing a Force Works team. He works perfectly as an old school War Machine. This set us up to get more War Machine figures, I'm sure. It's a great sculpt. I'd like to know who sculpted that 80th anniversary Iron Man, because they have been working off of that for quite a few figures since, and all of them have been money. But I had a real good time reviewing this figure too. He's so photogenic, and you get a lot in that box set. Definitely worth the cost of admission. And as they expand and give us more civilian bodies, I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to do a plainclothes roadie with the unmasked head here. And I'm sure we're going to see them venture out and give us a Hall of Armor or some Hall of Armor parts in 2021 or in 2022, like the Disney exclusive Hall of Armor set that we saw at the end of last year. So the playability is going to increase. This figure had mega fun factor, great range of motion. This was just a very solid offering for Marvel Legends, one of their best all time, definitely one of the best on the year, and that's my top 10. So thank you for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell down there, hit the like button. Let's get the visibility of this high, and I want to hear your top 10. Let me know in the comments what your top 10 Marvel Legends on the year were. Stay tuned for my top 10 figures through all the lines for 2020, and I'm out of here. Peace.
Remix, I gotta see chicks. Time is money. When you talk, gotta be quick. I don't see how y'all hang or even be with it. Brothers riding in the Benz with only one V6.